All right, so the online people, do they see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. All right, well, welcome everyone. It's good to finally see you guys. How many people got to go through all the videos? Oh, wow. Wow, okay, great. How many people went through the sort of half of it? Half of it, okay, okay. How many people did at least one video? Okay, okay, good, good. They got low, but I think you guys, okay, beautiful. So if you remember, so here's what we're gonna do today. And the goal of the workshop, as Amir said, is to enable you, hopefully, end-to-end NLP. And it's not easy because usually people focus on certain areas. So we started low-level text processing and went all the way to kind of deep NLP. And on the second part of the workshop, which is tomorrow, you'll learn how to deploy an NLP model, right? So for example, like this is not obviously a web development workshop. So the topic is kind of specific, but we're here to help and make you enjoy this. So let's talk about today. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do a quick recap of what we talked about. Of course, it's open. We're going to open it up to question at some point. After doing a quick recap, I'll tell you about. Are we okay? So after the recap, we're gonna do a quick sort of. We're gonna focus a little bit on the last attention. So I talked to if you know, we talked about quite a few attention types. This last attention is called self-attention. So we're going to focus a little bit on that. So you have it all. And after that, we're going to go through a couple of things I promised in the videos, but I didn't give you yet. One was the importance of nonlinearity in machine learning. And the other is a scikit-learn practice to process text, right? And those will be notebooks, and you'll work here on them. Hopefully the first part of the workshop today. Today's workshop is two parts. One is all of this, and finally, the first part of today's workshop, you're gonna be you can start working on your final project, right? Which is training a deep algorithm. It's a notebook. There are a few questions for you to solve, and then to train your model. And in the second half, hopefully you can start. I mean, people can arrange their time, however your pace your pace is. But the second part of the workshop is intended to be a focus on capstone. Now, if you can choose to work on the final project, that's still fine. But if you run out, and you're not participating in the capstone, and you run out, and you wanted more to do, we have more to give you. So just ask, and we'll give you another more advanced notebook to work on. But if you're working on the capstone, don't worry about the more advanced notebooks, because the capstone is going to be super fun and important. Yep.
Can you give them an advanced notebook anyway?
No. The advanced notebooks is only for a person who finishes the final project first, and doesn't want to participate in capstone, and I don't recommend it, to be honest, because capstone will give you an end-to-end experience. Advanced notebook is just another exercise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like after.
In that case, yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay. It's yours. Thanks for the question. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so this part is just the environment setup. There were quite a few questions. It's basically the reason I could have totally skipped this part. The reason I didn't is because when you go to a workplace, not all the time they set up the environment for you. Actually, more often than not, you need to set up your own environment. Because of many reasons, like if you're not every workplace is comfortable for you to work on collab, so on and so forth. And there are also a lot of engineering restrictions that may not allow you to directly work on interfaces such as collab. So you got to know how, and in general, you got to know how to interact with your environment, even if it's on collab, right? So, but as far as this workshop is concerned, you're good to go. You can get away with everything without even installing CUDA, right? Or any libraries. Well, aside from the ones that are already in your notebooks. Okay, so we talked about low-level text processing, fundamentals of NLP, advanced NLP, and NLP product design development. I'll give you hints on that today, and you can always ask questions. You need Anaconda is your distribution package. I told you how to install it. You can once you install it, you have your Conda environment, whether it's Mac or Windows, and it uses RIPL that enables fast prototyping. Okay, so these are the technologies you're interacting with. NLTK you already should know by now very well. Scikit-learn, you have some familiarity, but you get hands-on experience today. PyTorch as well, you get hands-on experience today. PyTorch is your final project. I mean, you can choose to do, for your capstone, you can choose to do whatever technology you want to use. Okay, so I talked about how these are dependent on each other, and I talked about CUDA, how to install it, how to check that it's actually working for you. In the end, I brought you to a collaboratory. How to utilize it and what it is. Basically, you can share notebooks, work on notebooks. If your workplace provides it, it's amazing. A comparison. So if you're not on GCP, you're at Amazon. You can use SageMaker, which is similar technology to some extent. It has deployment capabilities also. If you're on Microsoft Azure Workplace, you can use Azure ML. All right, so that was the first.
Yes,
yeah.
Some people are requesting access to the notebook. Can you say the instruction that they need to copy it instead of requesting access?
Yes. Okay. So okay, maybe I shouldn't share these things. Okay. So when basically the notebook link, you can download. You can copy it locally to your Google Drive, G Drive, and use it. Use your own copy. Do not request access to our servers, right? It's view only. It's read only. You're not allowed to write anyways. Okay, beautiful. Let's go to the next. Oh, here it is. Uh-oh, that's a video.
Question. I have a Mac and I have GPU on it, but it doesn't mean that I can do any GPU processing on that. I need to have external.
No, Macs don't. Usually, they don't have NVIDIA. I don't think Mac is on good terms with NVIDIA. Business speaking. Okay. All right. So let's. We'll have a question period for you to ask all of these questions if you'd like, but if it's burning, definitely ask. So we talked about the fundamentals of NLP, how to download NLTK. And for a lot of things, you don't have to write everything from scratch. You can use packages such as NLTK, which is a very good text processing package. And these days, so again, as I told you, I'll keep giving you hints and hopefully advice to apply all of this to your workplace if you're working on NLP. A lot of times when they approach you, and I've seen that very, very sadly frequently, where people jump into I don't know, deep learning or machine learning, whereas problems could be just how many characters exist in as you've seen as one of the examples, or what types of characters exist, or what's the frequency of this word or that word. So always try, if you want to be agile, if you want to be the quickest, if you want to have the quickest solution, always pick the simplest solution first. Otherwise, you don't have a point of comparison. Like if I come and ask you, okay, why did you deliver in 2 hours as opposed to like 5 minutes? You could have just done this. You can't say, oh, because this works better, because you didn't try the first method, right? But if you try the first method, you can always say it works better. And now that I started talking about Agile, let me just give you this this point as well. And feel free to ask in the question period if there was still questions. But basically, it's a common question as to how does machine learning. So machine learning is for a big chunk a stochastic process. It's not deterministic. You can't really say it's not. For example, web development. I'm not talking down on web development. I'm saying it's more deterministic. So there are patterns that exist. In machine learning, you can't really predict everything. Like its job is to predict something, and then only then you'll know if it works and to what extent it works. So the question a lot of people ask is how it interacts with the engineering agile. Because like they sit down, you can easily, not easily, but more accurately determine an engineering effort. Because it's deterministic, the code base is there, standards are there. For models and model development, you can't really do that all the time because it really depends on your data, no matter how many times you've done it, right, in the past. You don't know how many times you're going to go through your Agile loop until it's the performance is good enough for you to deploy. So the image I usually depict for people, and whoever asks you or puts you in the position that, predict for me, I separate Agile, engineering Agile loop from natural language processing or machine learning in general Agile loop. And how it works is that your engineering Agile will move very fast. Will make, it could be bigger, but it will make a lot of changes. Your separate Agile, natural language processing Agile loop will only feed once in a certain cycle into the engineering Agile when it needs to update the model, right? So this is your R&D. So you're the R&D, right? So they are different. Fight for it. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. Okay. So so that's a quick point. But basically, we talked about importing the sort of corpora and text collections in NLTK. We looked at the text object. As you've seen, it's very powerful. By one line of code, you can easily get concurrences, check out what exists in the text, which is a lot of times a good solution to begin with. You can get the common context. Yeah, you can see the ratio of a word constituted a document. And you can plot the histogram of words across your documents. Especially for longer documents, definitely try this. If you want to see if there are patterns within your documents, let's say it's a classification task. I mean, you can go ahead and tokenize and do all the things that you'll see in a second to classify a text, but not in a second, a few minutes. But have an understanding of how your text flows. So you can depict that for a few words of importance, and then have a visual for your documents. All right, so we talked about lexical diversity, and we talked about layers of natural language processing. I've told you all that before. Maybe just quickly, language is layered. It's not linear, and by no way, right? As I told you, you move from the acoustic system, you move from your sound waves all the way to phonemes. All the way to morphemes that are word subparts, and then from there to syntax, a combination of standalone morphemes, and from there you go to semantics, what the text actually means, and from there you go to pragmatics. What is now okay? What you're saying may have more than one meaning in a context, right? And pragmatics will tell you what exactly it means. Yep.
Came from the natural human understanding how it works. I mean, from the natural human construction.
Yeah, exactly. It relates to human. It's a human phenomenon we're processing, right? And part of it is because how the world is structured, and part of it because how our brain perceives the world. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and at the end of each notebook, there were exercises. How many people actually solve all the exercises? Half of it, half of it, half of it. Okay, one exercise. Okay, good. Okay, so that's the second notebook. Well, okay, so we talked a little bit about low-level text processing, and I'm going through this as a refresher. Feel free to ask me if you have questions during the question period. Basically, we learned about how to extract text from web and other sources, and actually build our own text objects. It's just much easier as opposed to start pre-processing from scratch. When you have such a powerful tool, we'll use it. And we talked about word tokenization, what it means, what is the difference between a token and a word type. We talked about string search. And we talked about denoising the text from the web. I made comments about search engines. I showed you how to process RSS feeds. And there are a lot of companies that actually work that, have products that only work on RSS feeds and generate insights. And they're successful companies. Yeah, we talked a little bit about local file operations. So this is low-level Python. We talked a little bit about processing PDF.
Okay, I have a question about my line.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Could you hold on a second? I'm gonna connect you in.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so with the PDF thing, I tried to actually install the slate, and I could not. It said it had problems with, and I couldn't find it in Conda. Is that what you expect?
It seems to be an environment issue. I don't know. I did not expect that. So as you see, did you just use the notebook?
Yes, I was, but I was trying to run it on my own system. I was running it just on a notebook.
I see.
And then I looked.
Do you wanna try it on? Have you tried it? So when you say on your system, did you use Jupyter then?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to try Colab online? Actually, if you have a Google account, you can just use Colab. That's the easiest way because in Colab all the environment setup and everything else, it's different. Like your Colab is a Linux system. Like it relies on a Linux system.
Okay, because I have Mac. I thought that it should work relatively with Mac, and I was looking at Stack Overflow, and people mentioned that it doesn't work very well with Python 3. Is that true?
That's an implementation question. But I'd say let's definitely do try it on just Google Drive on Colab. Ali, did you?
Yeah, I was going to mention for some packages they might not be available on Conda. It's a subset of like what you can find in pip. So it's for the sake of this workshop, it's better to use the Colab. But in your daily projects, you can find a way to add packages to Conda or Anaconda if they don't exist.
Yeah,
by default.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're in a Conda environment, you can still use pip to install. But I think her issue isn't that like it's like she's not talking about different environments. She's just that it's not working on her machine for some reason. So I'd say to take out.
I'm talking about the environment in Conda. I couldn't find it on Conda.
Oh, that's what you're saying? Okay, then you got the answer. Okay. Then we talked a little bit about processing PDFs. Yeah. So pip has a bigger library. But I told you why I prefer Conda in the videos, right? And it just has a better sort of environment management and a little bit more easy to find what you actually installed. Okay, and we talked about PDF retrieval and conversion. I gave you a few links to actually study further. into processing PDF files. We talked about the importance of chars and how they could be a simple solution to a lot of problems, and we talked about how to find a position of a context word.
Just want to add, there's the way around to install Slate now on the MacBook, so I can share it somewhere. So it's possible to install Slate on the MacBook with Pip.
Do you mind posting that on the slide?
Yeah, I will share it. Okay.
Okay, thanks. If the question was you can install Slate on a Mac, you should be able to, yes. If that's the question.
If you do it directly, so you could not do that. So there is an error. So there's a way around to make it.
To make it work? Okay, I gotcha. Okay, well, thanks for posting it on Slack. Okay. So let's, if it's, okay. So Unicode encoding, we talked about it. It's an important, you definitely, if you're doing anything NLP, you definitely face this issue. You need to be able to know what the encoding of your text is. And so we talked about how it interacts, what's readable to you, what's not readable to you, what's readable to your machine. Talked about code points, ordinary hexadecimal views, and how you can define strings. So a lot of the string operations. Okay, and there was an exercise. If you didn't do the exercises, I really recommend in this remaining week for you to do the exercise.
Can I ask a question about exercises, or it's not?
Yeah, yeah.
There's exercise about distinguishing the languages based on the characters. Could you a bit like explain about that? I did try on German and English.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any clue what the number of characters are based on the distribution of the characters.
What I said was that you can take a look at the distribution of the characters, and you can get a few websites. You can download a few websites. Look at the character patterns. Nearly over here is just a distribution of characters, and get the relative frequency of those characters. Right. With relative frequency, you can construct a vector. Right. With the relative frequency of certain characters, or all the characters, only 26 words out of 26 characters. Anyways, if you're using the alphabet method that I talked about, and then you can just get the cosine distance and see how far. That's one way. You don't have to do this, but that's one way. You can see how far. And let's say you have two sets of languages, either English or French, or English or German, and then with your cosine distance, you should be able to say to a good degree which one your text belongs to. And that's all deterministic in math. Like nothing, no